Okay, so good to have you. We also have Mr. Rashid. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. Oh, thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah. All right. Um, so without wasting time, we'll start SQL. Let me put this in a full screen view, full screen mode. Yep. So you can launch picture mode. Can you see my screen? Hmm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. So yeah, as you already know, this class is all about is for SQL, structured query language, the language, the standard language for relational database querying. Okay, so
We cannot hear you, Mr. Idris. Are you still talking? We cannot hear you, Mr. Idris. If you are speaking there.
I think his network went off or something.
through the slide, and then after which we are going to go to open SQL Server Management Studio and start writing SQL code. All right. So the objectives, I believe you can see my screen. Understanding relational database management systems, understanding relational database, introduction to SQL and its applications, importance of SQL for data analysis, and common use cases of SQL in business and research. Okay, so a relational database management system, otherwise known as RDBMS, is a database software or application that enables users to maintain data. So you have this application, just like any other application you have on your computer that is installed on your computer. So this one, is specifically made for database management, and that also appears in its name, in its title, database management system. So these kind of applications are used to manage, maintain, and accommodate, databases. We call them relational database management system. Examples of this RDBMS is Oracle DB, IBM DB2, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, and so on. There are more. Is anyone familiar with any of this? Any
Yes.
familiarity? Okay, which one in particular?
I've worked with the Oracle database before.
You've worked with Oracle database before. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So this is not entirely new to you. Good. So that is what it is. Then we have DBMS and RDBMS, and this slide tells us the difference between RDBMS and DBMS. Basically, RDBMS store data using tables. So you have a table, you have a database, and a database is made up of a number of tables. And each table in the database is made up of columns and rows. And, the intersection of each of column and row is what we call a cell. You have cells which contain which contain the data. The columns is usually the kind of like the label for the data. The label for the data, and then you have the rows, which is the item you are storing in the database, the object, the thing you are storing itself. The row represents that. So the column is the label for that. So, but in the case of DBMS, it stores data using files. So what we are focusing on in this lesson, in our course, is RDBMS. And just the database management system that we are using is Microsoft SQL Server. A relational database organizes data into rows, as I said earlier, rows and columns, which collectively form a table. Data is typically structured across multiple tables, which can be joined together via a primary key or a foreign key. So this is a visualization of relational database tables. So in a typical relational database, data is stored in this fashion. So you have tables, and the more reason why it is called the relational database, the word relational that actually exists in the name of that database management system is because there is something known as relationship between tables. There is something known as relationship between tables. In a relational database management system, it is encouraged that a large table is broken down into smaller tables, and then a relationship is formed, is established between those smaller tables. So the arrow, you notice the arrow coming out, coming out from the student's table, all the way pointing to the student courses table. There is another one coming out from the courses table, pointing to the student's courses table. Now, I need you to know that this table was the three tables that you're looking at right now was initially one table, was initially one large table. Now the table went through what we called normalization. You might have heard of it, where you normalize the data, you remove anomalies, you have the first stage of normalization, the second stage, the third stage, the fourth stage, and the fifth stage. The table went through those stages, and as it stepped into each stage, you kind of improve the table. At each stage, you remove some things that could cause error in the future. You separate tables. You break a large table down into separate tables and so on. You continue reducing until it becomes something that could be more manageable. So this is the idea of relational database. Now let's talk about structured query language. So SQL is a programming language for storing and processing information in a relational database. SQL can be used to store, update, remove, search, and retrieve information from the database. That is what it is. That is what SQL is. So we've been talking about SQL before we started the class. So this is what SQL is. For anyone who might have some familiarity with any programming language, this is another programming language, but kind of different from those programming languages that you knew. For example, if you have seen maybe Java, or if you've heard of it, Java, JavaScript, Python, and so on, SQL is another programming language, but it is purposely, it is actually meant for querying data. Unlike other programming languages that are actually made for writing software, developing software, backend structure, and so on and so forth. This one is made for data. You query data, you update data, you remove data from the database. You do all sort of things on data. So, and here is an example of how it is written. So here you have, in this example here, we're trying to retrieve some data from the database. The database is called person. We're retrieving from the database, from a table rather, a table called person, and we're getting two columns out of that table. We're getting first name and last name from the table person, and we're saying we are filtering the data we want to get. We are filtering it down to those whose. So we want to, in a nutshell, we want to get a data. We want to fetch some data from the table, but we only want to get the data of those people whose last name is Brown. This is an example of how SQL is written. All right. Then we also need to know that SQL has sub-languages. Before I move on, are we together?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Any question at this point?
Good so far. No question.
Okay. So we also need to know that SQL as a standard language for relational database management system for querying data has sub-languages. Just like the English we speak has part of speech, which actually form the language itself. Without part of speech, there is no English. There's nothing like English without part of speech. So in part of speech, you have noun, pronoun, um, um, adjective, verb, adverb, and so on. Similarly, SQL as a language has its some sub-languages, the elements that the language is made up of. So the first one is data definition language. This part of the language is used to describe or to create, in simple terms, to create objects, to create things like databases. Okay, we have the create keyword that we can use to create databases. We have the alter keyword that we can use to alter an already existing database or table. If you have, for example, if you have a database and when you created the database, you made a mistake while naming it in the name of the database, you could use alter to alter the name, to change the name to what you actually want. You have the drop, which is used to delete a database or a table. Then we have the second part of the language is called data manipulation language. It's used to manipulate data. This is actually the part where you are going to spend most of your time. Especially in this course, we are going to be focusing on the data manipulation language part of the language. So in particular, we'll be focusing on select. Select is used to retrieve data from the database table. We do all sort of things. It's very, very powerful. Select is very, very amazing. There are a lot of things that we can do with select. In fact, we could spend in fact, the entirety of this course revolves around select, because select is fantastic. It's a very powerful keyword in SQL. Then we have insert. Insert basically use insert to carry more data into the database table. You insert, as the name implies, you insert into the database. You have update, just like alter. Update is used to update already existing data in the table, just like we use alter to alter the name of an object. This update is used to update data in the table. Then we have delete, to delete data from the table. Finally, we have the data control language, grant and revoke. This part of the language is used at the database management level. Database management level. If you're a database admin or management, you'll be working as somebody who grants permission to other database users and who also revokes permission from them. So this is how that part of the language works. All right, now let's talk about Transact SQL. Transact SQL, or TSQL for short, is a dialect of SQL that SQL Server uses to query database. It is an extension of the standard SQL. It provides additional functionality that can be performed on data. So that is what Transact SQL or TSQL means. How do I relate this to you in real world? So in real world, you have, for example, if you go to the US, you have the US English. There's a way they speak, English is spoken in the US. There is a difference between the English that is being spoken in the US and the English that is being spoken in United Kingdom. So similarly, but we know that before I come back to SQL, we know that there is one language, English. But as you go to different regions, there's a slight difference in how that language is being spoken, right? Even in our own language. If you are in Nigeria, if you are so there is a difference. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can. We can see your screen now.
Okay. So now all the SQL databases, server management system, Oracle, DB, IBM, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, and so on, all of them, they use the same language for querying data, which is SQL. But each one has its own implementation of that language. So the implementation of SQL that Microsoft SQL Server uses is called Transact SQL. And of course, as I said, with the example I used, there is going to be a slight difference in how SQL is written here in Microsoft SQL Server and how it is written from how it is written in Oracle DB. You're going to see a slight difference, but it does that difference doesn't really affect the original language. Whatever you can write in Microsoft SQL Server, you can write in Oracle, but there might be a very slight difference in how it is written sometimes, not always. All right, with that out of the way, then now let's now think about how SQL is important for data analysis. So why SQL is important for data analysis? SQL can be used for a very complex data analysis by combining multiple tables. This is one of the fantastic and one of the powerful things that SQL can do. You can have several tables and have them combined together using one SQL, one query, to combine several tables together and present them as if it is one. And SQL is very, very fast, very, very fast. It can query high volumes of data in a very short time. And SQL is very rich in data analysis. It is very, very versatile. It has a lot of tools, a lot of things that you can use for data analysis. Now, I would argue that SQL actually beats any other language that is used for a data analysis. People also use Python. SQL beats it because the reason is SQL is made for data. The only thing that SQL does is querying data, everything it has, everything that is built into the language is built for the purpose of data. But Python, for example, Python is a programming language that is a versatile programming language that can do a lot of things. You can use Python in web development, in mobile application development, back-end application development, in data science. You know, it has a lot of areas that it thrives, that it works very well, it performs very well. So, but SQL is just specifically made for this. This is the reason why it has been made. So that's why SQL is different. It's very rich. It has all the things you need. But this is not to discourage anybody not to learn any other thing, like any other language that you can use for data analysis. It makes you it makes you become better. So Python is fantastic. You can do a lot of things with Python. Learning it gives you that the advantage to beat others. You know, it gives you the advantage to know more, to be a better data analyst, to be a better data scientist. All right. So that will be the end of the slide. So any question? Any questions so far?
I think I'm good. We can proceed.
Okay. Any other person? Mr. Okay, I think it is Mr. Kwam that spoke just now. Mr. Rashid, are we good? Okay.
It's Rashid that asked us to proceed.
Okay. I'm still getting familiar with your voices. Okay, so now I need you to power up your SQL Server Management Studio. So have you added please give me thumbs up if you have added AdventureWorks to SQL Server. Okay, fantastic. That is a yes from Mr. Kwam. Oh, sorry, Mr. Rashid. Yeah. What about Mr. Kwam? Have you added SQL?
So Mr. Kwam has not installed SQL. I think he has said that in the code.
Oh, okay. He was the one who said it. Oh, okay. So now Mr. Rashid, which adventure works did you add to SQL Server?
Okay, let me check.
So is it Adventure Works 2019 or Adventure
Yeah,
Works 2022?
2019, 2022. Hardly
Okay,
like four from the.
4. Okay, but you have what you have Adventure Works. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
So you have Adventure Works 2019 because there are different
Yes, I
versions of
do.
it. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay. So either Adventure Works 2019 or 2022 would work.
yeah.
All right.
I downloaded the two.
All right. So just a quick introduction to the interface you are looking at. So this area is what we call of the Object Explorer. So you have the databases, you have security, server objects, and so on. And the databases is where the databases are kept. Now, when you restored AdventureWorks to SQL Server Management to SQL Server, you find the databases here. And any database that you create, you will also be here. Okay. And if I click on the plus icon next to AdventureWorks 2019, I will see a bunch of things here. And if I click on tables, that will show me, I would see all the tables in this database. So AdventureWorks is a database, is a sample database actually, that is made for practice purposes. It actually imitates a real company, like a fake company, so that anyone learning um, SQL using Microsoft SQL Server in particular could have a large data set to practice with. So that is what AdventureWorks is. It's no more than that. So then now if I in this area, I'll just right click, I'll expand the table, one of the tables, and I'll right click on human resources.employee. I'll right click on that, and I'll click select top 1000 rows. If I click that, it's going to execute a query for me. And this is the query it has executed. Now, this query looks a little bit long and confusing.
I think your screen. I can't see your screen though. Ask for that. I don't think I can see your screen.
Seriously, why
Yeah,
is it?
it went up like immediately you tried opening the.
Is so I think SQL Server Management Studio, there is a, I don't know, there is actually a problem somewhere with this with SQL Server Management Studio and the what do we call these applications that we use to do the video meeting. So I remember it happened in my last
Okay.
class with Google Meet as well. Mr. Blakim, if you can
Okay.
remember,
So,
our last class was Google Meet. We were still using Google Meet in our previous
yes.
data
Okay.
analysis. Yes. It happened in that
Okay.
class as
Maybe
well.
tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we can move to Microsoft Teams. I think that should not have issue, right?
The
We try
problem,
Microsoft Teams tomorrow. Okay.
maybe.
It's coming up now. It's coming up, and we try Microsoft Teams tomorrow and see how what we can. Okay. coming up.
No, I don't think it will work in Microsoft Team 2. I just remember now that it happened in Microsoft Team 2 because there was a time we used Microsoft Team.
Then what do we use?
I think it is not these applications per se. There's a conflict between these applications and SQL Server Management Studio. I don't know.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Let's see what.
Okay, so I will just be conscious of that.
Okay.
Okay, so in particular, it happens anytime I run query. I know that. I remember that it happens anytime I run query. So anytime I run query, I know I will have to reshare. Okay, so here, this is the query. This is the coding area. Okay. The area you see in that code, you see select top 1,000, that means 1,000 rows. Then from these columns here, and then at the bottom here is the result of executing that query. So if you look at the bottom, you have two tabs here actually. This there's a tab called results, and there's another one called messages. Okay, results gives you the result of the query you run up here in the code area. So the result we got is we got the table. We got a table as a result of running that query. Business entity ID as a column, national ID number, login ID, organization mode, and so on. All right. And yeah, at the bottom left here, it tells us that the query was successful. It said query executed successfully. And at the bottom right here, I have some information as well. I have the name of the server, Idris/SQL Express. That is the name of the server, of the SQL server. And here is the name of the computer, the name of my computer. And then here, following that is the name of the database we are querying, AdventureWorks 2019. Following that is the time it took SQL Server to run that query. A very small time, a very small, tiny amount of time. And finally, the amount of rows returned as a result of executing that query. So, and if I click on messages here is also helpful. It gives you some information that are very, very useful. It tells you the amount of rows affected by the query you run and the time it took. And also, if your query fails, this is where you get the message of the failure. Now, many times the message you get might be misleading. You just have to, but with practice, you're going to get familiar with it, and you can use it to troubleshoot or to debug the error you had in your query. All right. So a few things to introduce at the top here. Here is a drop down. If I click on that, it drops down. Here, this is going to show you the list. It's going to show you a list of the databases that you have installed on your server. So you see, I have AdventureWorks 2019, AdventureWorks 2022, Master, Model, MSDB, and TempDB. Right? So AdventureWorks are the user-defined databases that I have on this server. The others, starting from master, are system-defined database, which means they came with the installation.
The screen is frozen somehow because I can still see we are just on select of 1,000 rows. Or am I using my screen only? 1,000 rows, business entity, national ID number. That's the only thing you can see here.
Oh, can you see my mouse pointer?
Yes, but we can't see the drop down.
You can see the drop down.
Yes.
You can see it. You can see it.
No.
You can see it now.
Okay, I can see you.
Uh,
No, I think you are sharing perhaps a window or something like that. Like you're not sharing, so that's right. That's it.
yes, I'm not sharing the entire screen. I'm sharing the SQL server.
I think that's the reason why. It's not showing the dialog box or any pop-up.
There is. Okay, can you see the drop down?
No, we can't see it.
No, we cannot see it. It's the same with Excel and other things too. When you share, when there is any Windows that is pop-up, it won't show.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me walk. Let me quickly. Give me a minute.